Why doesn't this move faster? Hello guys, how you doing? They say that time flies, but it doesn't when you're bored. I'm going to be talking about how to deal with boredom by scheduling our activities. It's all about CBT, but you'll find out more about that. Also, we're going to find out about pluralistic, easy for you to say, ignorance, and what that actually is, and why I'm not wearing a tie. Guys, enjoy this episode. Take care. Hello, how you doing guys? Welcome, my name's Steve Beckles-Ebusua, the speaker without the orange tie. I'll explain that later. Welcome to the Orange Room. Those who don't know anything about me, I'm a motivational speaker. Go to schools, colleges, universities and companies around the UK, Europe and in the States. Now that has obviously changed because of this whole situation, and so have I. I've changed as well. I'm still a speaker, but what I'm training to become is a cognitive behavioural cognitive therapist. I'm basically CBT, and I've got a passion for it because it's something I love doing, and it's all about helping people to help themselves. So it's like an extension of my motivational speaking. Now, I'm really excited to be here because I'm going to be giving some tips, techniques, ideas about how you can not just help yourself, but help others while you're helping yourself. So guys, what's this all about? Now, I've been doing these since March. It's going to be a full year. And in this year, the start of 2021, I've actually started my training. Now, I have started in the kind of back end of 2020, but now is the real stuff. Loads of assignments. I'm enjoying it. And I think that's probably the most important thing. I'm enjoying it. But one of the biggest things I realize in life, you've got to find something which is your passion, because it can make a massive difference to how things are and how you accomplish your goals. So let's get going and let's look at my strap line. As you know, I always have a strap line, and it says bored. It's time for activity scheduling. Now, let me explain what activity scheduling is. Now, it's very important. In fact, it's an important part of CBT, which is I'm training to become a therapist, is that activity scheduling is all about finding pleasure tasks. It's mainly aimed at people that are depressed. But what I believe is that we can work this to those people that perhaps don't feel depressed, but kind of thinking, I just need to do something. This is just really pulling me down. So what I've done is read a chapter, part of my assignment, and I'm going to bring parts of that to help you to look at how you could overcome boredom with activity scheduling. Also, we're going to talk about pluralistic ignorance. Okay, so they're the two parts I'm going to be talking about in this particular session. I'm going to tell you let you know about the pluralistic ignorance is all about, and that's one of the reasons I'm not wearing my tie, which I'm going to explain as well. So first of all, guys, let's get going on the first part of this talk, and that's talking about activity, and it's really looking at how we schedule. That's kind of what we're looking at. So first of all, there's a lady called Dr. Christine Pedeschi, and she talks about when you're bored, you have to put things in place. Now, setting goals are important. So for example, if I gave you the date March the 8th, the 29th, April the 12th, May the 17th, and June the 21st. Now, to some of you, be thinking, especially outside the UK, you'd be thinking, what's he on about? But inside the UK, especially perhaps June the 21st, all those Salsa people who love going out, you'll realise their dates given to us by the government, Boris, said that those dates were the dates for reducing the lockdown. So what actually happened is that they're kind of pleasure dates, aren't they? So going back to school, I believe, is March the 8th. My daughter's going back March the 8th. That's a date, isn't it? Especially for the parents in the house are just thinking, oh my goodness, thank heavens for that. But can you see that automatically it's like a pleasant occurrence which is going to happen? So that's really what activity and kind of scheduling is all about. So this lady, and it's amazing actually, Christine Pedeschi, spoke about making a list, okay, of all the things you need to do, for example, tomorrow. All right. Now what you do, you put them into three categories. Now there are three categories of when we do something that makes our mood positive, okay? The first thing is the pleasurable, okay? So they're all the things you just love doing. So it could be, I mean, I know we can't do a lot nowadays because in the lockdown, I weren't going to mention lockdown, but I mentioned it there. Maybe cooking, you enjoy cooking. There could be things like watching TV. There could be things like playing games on the kind of the games, whatever. They're all your pleasurables, okay? Then you have your accomplishments. They're things like getting up in the morning, getting washed, getting dressed. They're the kind of things you kind of have to do, all right? But then there's the overcoming avoidance. They're the things perhaps you don't like doing. And that's one of the things, maybe they're the things that kind of drag your day down. This is what she suggests, and I love this idea. Make a list of all the things you need to do, whatever they are, okay? Now, what she says, and it's really important, is you separate your pleasurables, the accomplishments, and overcoming the avoidance. Those three, put them into sections, okay? Now, to avoid being bored, it's about having pleasurable things to do. Now, when often we get the balance wrong is when you've got loads of pleasurables to do in one day. You've got maybe one accomplishment, which might be getting up and just getting a wash, and then maybe just doing the rest of kind of pleasurable things you want to do. And then there's the overcoming the avoidance, which we tend to just leave out. Now, you've got to find your balance. But in order to make your day more enjoyable, you've got to have those pleasurables. You have to. I think there are a lot of people, I think I'm one of them as well, is I'd kind of do all of those overcoming those avoidances, but I won't have any pleasurables at all. So by the end of the day, yes, I feel like I've accomplished a lot, but it hasn't been pleasurable. So what she suggests is to measure out your pleasurables, the things that you just love doing, even if it's like playing the guitar, going for a walk, whatever, but at least have about 3 pleasurables in your day. So if you're planning for tomorrow, you make a list of 3 things that you just absolutely love doing. Hopefully they're not going to be too unhealthy, yeah? But the point is, you've got to have those things you're going to enjoy. Just similar to the dates that Boris Johnson set for us. We got those dates in our head and we're thinking, yeah, June the 21st, brilliant. You know, so setting those kind of targets. The next things are the accomplishments. These things you can't really sidestep because they're the things like cooking, showering, getting dressed. So those kind of things you will have to do. But there are going to be stuff that you've got to kind of maybe put in your mind that you must do as well. But then there's the overcoming those avoidances. They're the kind of challenging. Now, you've got to find your ratio. Okay, now as I said earlier, I think I'm all into overcoming my avoidances. I've got loads of those. And I try to bang those out for the day. By the time I get to the end of the day, I'm thinking, yeah, I've done it all, but oh God, I didn't enjoy it. So you have to have those pleasurables. Got to find your measure. For me, I found 2 pleasurables. Yeah, the accomplishments, I make sure obviously the very basic stuff, get those done. And I've got about 3 overcome avoidances. Now normally I'd have a full day, but now I've reduced it down. Why? Because the important thing is A, to have a goal, yeah, as Boris Johnson says, but also have those pleasurable things as well, all wrapped up in those overcoming all of those kind of avoidances as well. Give this a try. It's a CBT exercise. As I said, I'm finding this fascinating because this is part of my assignment, so I'm actually putting this into practice. But just give that a try. Just see how it works for you, if indeed it does. Okay, and by all means, please let me know if you do try. But it's about you taking action. Yeah, and once you start taking action, that's when there's a hope of things are going to change. You've probably heard me say many times, the best thing to do is the right thing, next thing to do is the wrong thing, but the worst thing to do is nothing. So if you're going into Saturday morning with nothing planned, but just maybe sitting on the couch and just doing the very, very basics, it is going to be a bad day in your perception. Why? Because you've not planned anything at all. But for example, if you plan to do some of those overcoming avoidances, maybe have 2 of those, but loading it up with maybe 5 pleasures. Do you see what I mean? Get that ratio so your mind and your brain's constantly thinking at least there's some pleasure at the end of the day. All right, so that's the first part of this session, and that was talking about the importance of how we plan. Yeah, it's about planning our day. Now the next part of this, which is just awesome stuff, is pluralistic ignorance. I don't know if you ever heard that term, pluralistic ignorance. Now I only really came across it since I've been starting my assignment, but we all know what it is. And when I explain what it is, you're going to go, yeah, I do this all the time. Let's take you back to school days. Anyone remember the story, The Emperor's New Clothes? Do you remember The Emperor's New Clothes? Those that are unfamiliar with it, what was happening? The emperor would be going through the town or walk through the town, and he had no clothes on, okay? No clothes on apart from his crown. And he thought he looked good. Now, everyone around him, his court gestures, his court majors and whatever, they all said he looked amazing. You look wonderful. When really everyone knew that he was butt naked and he didn't look good. Apart from when one child said, but the king's got no clothes on. Pluralistic ignorance is when your boss says something, okay? And there's a whole group of you all listening on Zoom, no doubt, yeah? And you think to yourself, what? That's not right. And you know that's not right. And everyone else knows that's not right. However, they say nothing. How many times have you been there? The teacher, back in school, take you back to school days, she's explained something and she said, right, does everyone understand? No one says a word. You know, no one understands. But yet no one says a word. I love this quote. No one believes, but everyone thinks that everyone believes. Does that make sense? So in other words, everyone is just going with it and not saying a word. And it's like that quote that truth you can't measure truth by mass appeal. Okay? It's like Nazi Germany, classic example, isn't it? You know there are people doing horrendous things. Some people were sadistic, but you know there's a large majority of people that did not agree. But pluralistic ignorance had them to follow. This happened in 1963. A lady called Kitty Genevieve. She was brutally murdered in New York, and the screams could be heard throughout the households in the area. Apparently 38 witnesses heard this sound of this woman screaming, yet no one did anything. When it was researched and the police went round to question people, everyone thought that someone else was going to do something else about it. Now, I'm sure we've experienced this, haven't we? Where you think, no, that's just wrong. But what do? You let it go, don't you? And I think pluralistic ignorance is something where we have this belief that they must be right because they are who they are, or no one said anything, so it must be right. Now, when I'm studying this, I was thinking, oh my gosh, I think I've done that quite a bit. I now tend to challenge a lot more because I do feel confident in doing so. But how many of you are feeling that's me, that's what I'm doing on a regular basis? So what I want to do is give you 3 tips to try to get you to overcome this. Now, it's not easy. I'm not going to say it's easy because sometimes it is that pressure. It's your manager, and if you're surrounded by other managers as well, who are you to say anything? So it does come from confidence. The first thing what I suggest is to look around. Now, it's probably going to be Zoom at this moment, but it could be people that you've maybe had conversations with, and look at body language. Does it look like that these people don't actually agree with what's being said? And if you pick that up, that's your time maybe after the meeting is to maybe have a word with them and say, look, James, you don't agree with that, do you? And if he obviously agrees with you, maybe then both of you go to the manager. Do you see? The other approach, and I talked about this many months ago, is a 3-2-1 approach. So in other words, just count down 3, 2, 1, and just speak. I've got a video on this on YouTube, Orange Online, and basically it talks about the 3-2-1 technique. When you count down from 3, 2, 1, when you get to 1, there's a pause. And during that pause, that's when you need to act. So what I suggest, if maybe you sense this where someone said something, you think, that's just not right. Do that count in your head. And just say, look, sorry mate, no, I'm sorry, I just don't agree. Now, it takes a lot of courage doing that, and I know that. So some of you are thinking, well, Steve, it's okay for you to say that. I can't say it. But listen, I will more or less 98.9999% that if you're thinking the same thing, other people are thinking the same thing as well. And the other thing, which is probably the hardest thing to do, is just to speak up and just say, forget the 3, 2, 1, just say, look, I disagree. Now that last one takes, I think, belief in yourself and what you're about to say, but also I think it just takes that courage to say, do you know what? I'm just not going to conform. And that's one of the reasons I decided not to wear a tie. Because I thought, you know what? I'm just not going to wear it. I'll just change for the sake of changing. And I think that's really what this is all about. So pluralistic ignorance, guys, is something we're surrounded by on a daily basis, but I want you to be so aware of it. So guys, boom, let's do a quick summary of what I spoke about. I spoke about activity scheduling. And got a little diagram here. Look, here we go. Look, little diagram. Okay. And what I was suggesting is, number one, pleasurable activities, accomplishments, number two, and overcoming avoidance. Okay. Just do 1, 2, 3, and then just make a list, okay, of all the things you need to do, and then make sure for pleasurables you have the highest amount of pleasurables in your day for tomorrow. Okay. Why? Because it keeps that momentum going. Also, if you don't feel that overcoming the avoidance is, you think it's going to be really, really difficult, try to tie in your values with the things you don't like doing. Let me explain. So you don't like cooking, all right? And that is one of your overcoming your kind of avoidances, okay? Because you enjoy good food, because that's your values, one of your values is healthy eating, start planning then to eat healthy. So, I don't know, maybe when you go to the shops, look for some really healthy stuff that you really enjoy eating. Why? Because you tie in your values, which is like healthy, with something perhaps you don't enjoy doing that much. Another example, if you don't like painting and decorating, I know we've got this kind of lockdown and we've got to be aware of people in the house, etc. But when that situation subsides and you've got to do painting and decorating, you don't like doing it, one of your values could be family. So what you might do is then invite family round to help you to paint and decorate. Do you see what I mean? So what she talks about is tying your values in with the things perhaps you don't enjoy doing. She's got a great book called, I think I wrote it down, Mind Over Mood. I haven't read it as such, but I'm Googled extracts of it. So that's definitely on my list. I want to get one of those books. And that is by Christine Podesky, okay? And as I said, the second thing, guys, is the values with your pluralistic ignorance. Think very carefully, guys. And are you kind of buying into things but clearly you know they're not true? Try those 3 things. As I said earlier, try that kind of situation where you maybe see someone that you know they don't agree with you, maybe have a word with them and both of you go to that person. Try the 3, 2, 1 countdown. That might work. Just push yourself to it. And then finally, forget the 3, 2, 1. Just say it. Just do it, as Nike says. Boom, all done. Guys, that is it. Guys, I hope you have enjoyed this session. The whole idea, as I always say, is not just to get you kind of to learn, to get through this, but it's to also learn from it as well. Big shout outs. I've got quite a few of them actually. Yes, Andrew Stewart. I'm not on the radio on OSSR this weekend, but Andrew Stewart is with the top salsa promoters. Now, as we know, June the 21st is the date, I think, for all dancers and all people just love going out, the date to note. Now, I think a lot perhaps is going to happen before then, but guys, it's a goal. It's something to aim for. So, guys, please tune to Andrew Stewart between 10 and 12. I'm going to give a big shout out to a guy I only found out about, really, I knew about him, but I listened to it the first time, a guy called DJ Massimo. I think he's in Italy, actually. He's from 8 till 10 on a Sunday on OSSR. If you want to lose weight, I'm not joking. If you want to listen to him, the music is phenomenal and it just keeps you moving really good. Big shout out to a guy called Graham Harris. He is just the boom. He's just, he's one of these guys that's always there supporting me. So big shout. Thank you so much indeed, Graham. Do appreciate it. Shout out to my brother as well, Kevin. He's doing his masters and, most respect to him. He's got his heads in books whenever I ring him. He's just on it. Well done. And a big shout out to finally my son, Tyrell, whose birthday is on the 3rd of March. I believe it's on Tuesday. So it's just looking forward to that and just love everything about him. He's just an amazing young man. Boom, that is it. That's done. Guys, thank you so much for listening. I do hope you have enjoyed it. Remember those 2 things I spoke about. Activity scheduling, try to do that. Look for those pleasurables, look for those accomplishments, the things you have to do, but more importantly, guys, overcoming those kind of avoidances, those things that you don't want to do. The second thing, guys, let's look very carefully at our pluralistic ignorance. Are you just doing that same thing over and over again and you know it's not right? It's time to challenge it. Guys, thank you so much. I really hope you have enjoyed it and have an amazing weekend. Guys, take care.